A very small change in terms of wording, but it does have, I think, a pretty significant change under it, and that is changing the section about member congregations, and it actually takes us from the language that is very much bricks and mortar in the defining of a congregation, actually just referring to a congregation, knowing that, for instance, as we have evolved, that, for instance, there are ways to express Unitarian Universalism and to identify as Unitarian Universalists that aren't exclusively signing a book at a bricks and mortar church. And so this is what that one is really about. The second one is another, actually, I think, a really healthy forward-looking change, and that is you will have a chance to vote to allow off-site voting for General Assembly plenary business. And that, as some of you who were in Minneapolis may have remembered, that we did the first test of allowing, I think there were 4 congregations or fellowships from around the country who agreed to help us kind of test whether or not and how you go about allowing congregations to be fully engaged in the business of the association, but not physically able, for whatever reason, to be at General Assembly. And it was a test. This year we're going to do another test that actually allows even more full engagement by those congregations that have expressed an interest in doing so, and even testing their ability to vote, and to make sure that vote has there's an integrity in terms of the voting. And of course we know that software allows that, so it's not a big issue. The IT infrastructure now can support that. But the votes can't count this year because until we have a bylaw change. The next one has to do with changing the wording from religious educator masters to religious educator master. All right, yeah, I will not spend any more time on that. If you're a religious educator, I don't want to diminish that might be something you care about, but I'm hopeful that there won't be too much debate or deliberation about that. The next one is about the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. It's some revision to the way the Ministerial Fellowship Committee does its business of the work they do to assess the candidates for our ministry. And that is really about the size of how large the panels are that meet with candidates. So that's basically the change there. Also, there are 2 articles that are being proposed for changes around actions of immediate witness. The first one is actually going to suspend actions of immediate witness in 2012, because again, that's going to be a different type of General Assembly where there's going to be so much of that focus on us being out doing other types of public witness that we really want to minimize the amount of plenary business. And actually, I think it was John and I at the District Assembly. John had said he wasn't sure why, of all the General Assemblies, we wouldn't have action of immediate witness. But in a sense, I think John said, well, the whole thing is about an action of immediate witness. So for 1 year, it's probably okay to suspend that business. Now, the next proposal is also about actions of immediate witness. It's when they come back in 2013. It's basically to there's been a sense that perhaps there have been too many actions of immediate witness and too much activity that isn't grounded more broadly than a few congregations, that just a few congregations care about. So one of the ideas is that, well, if we have fewer, then, folks will be a little more focused about the way that they consider those. And it raises the bar a little higher in terms of getting something that can really be the sense of not just a small group of congregations, but the body at large, which is a plenary. So it still is that if you want to propose an action of immediate witness, that you have to have a petition where at least 150 delegates sign it, from at least 25 congregations, from at least 5 districts. So it's that 150-25-5 rule still counts if you want to, under this new language, if you want to propose an action of immediate witness. And that, by the way, if you're thinking about an action of immediate witness, even for this General Assembly, again, it's the 150-25-5, 150 signatures on a petition from 25 congregation delegates, that is, that are at least from 5 districts.
This is all the time at GA.
At GA.
Not clarity.
Right, exactly. But of course, if you're interested in doing one of those, don't wait until the day you arrive in Charlotte. You can already start contacting other congregations that you may know who would be supportive of that and start networking already. And especially in an area like Washington, D.C., where in the greater Baltimore, Washington area, we have like 30 congregations. You get a good start right there. And even, as I said, even though you still need 5 districts, you can still get a bunch of folks who say, yes, I'll help get petitions signed while we're there, and we'll help you. The next one is, moving down this list, is the Article 15 amendments related to the process to amend Article 2, the purposes and principles. And basically what happened is two General Assemblies ago, the Commission on Appraisal brought before the delegates a proposal to amend our purposes and principles, and it did not pass. And out of that, some of the reflection was some of the delegates really felt that they didn't have a chance to provide meaningful input into the process. Specifically, and I'm not saying the Commission on Appraisal several-year process, but there was just feeling something so important to just allow us an up or down vote doesn't seem consistent with our values. And so there was a business resolution that told the UUA board, go and study this issue and bring the proposal back to us. And so what we have done is exactly that. We had a task force that went out, and basically now what happens is, so to change a C bylaw, which it requires two General Assemblies, and the purposes and principles are a C bylaw. So under the proposal we're bringing, the first of the 2 General Assemblies where a proposed change to the purposes and principles comes up, delegates can amend what the Commission on Appraisal or the board brings to the delegates in terms of purposes and principles. And that will be done in the mini-assembly process. Articles 5, 6, and 9 are about restructuring the board of the UUA, and it will take the board from a size of 26 to 13. So it's half the size, and it will do away with districts selecting trustees, and it will move to an all-at-large board. And so that has been something we've been talking about for a couple of years, but that is probably, I'm guessing that may be one of the items on the floor of the plenary that we'll see the most debate and deliberation on. And actually, I'm going to ask a group of you who care about that to be one of the breakout groups, and some of you can perhaps already raise some issues, concerns, reasons why you're in favor of it or not. But the board is very busy right now and working on materials that will be shared just prior to an General Assembly about that proposal and really what's behind it. And I actually have some materials to give you, sort of the vision statement that the board itself has put forward of why we want a smaller board, and how you get to that smaller board that is truly representative of what I would like to call the growing edge of the Unitarian Universalism, our future. The final 2 are just name changes, quite frankly, updating to change names. One is the Southwest District name change, as well as the last one is in our bylaws for one reason or another. Specific staff departments and divisions of the UUA are named. And so every time there is a reorganization, a new president or administration comes in, and there is a reorg, it causes us to have to change the bylaws. And so we finally figured out, let's remove anything but UUA staff, so therefore we don't have to continuously be updating these bylaws because of the organization. So that is a quick summary of the changes that are before you. I want to just mention too that there is going to be, as we've already heard, this is the year in the 4-year cycle of the Commission on Social Witness Business where the draft statement of conscience on ethical eating will be up for a vote. And as John said earlier, two things can happen. It can be passed this year after mini assembly where amendments can be entertained, and then it can come to the floor and it could pass. It could be actually sent back for another year's study. If it is passed, then next year, what will happen in General Assembly is the issues around ethical eating would then be really meant about implementation and programming and assisting congregations. So that is another one that I hope all of our congregations and all of our delegates have had a chance to talk about and to discern, do some discernment, and be ready to vote. If you're, and let me just say mini assembly. So how many of you have attended a mini assembly at General Assembly? All right, let me just say, if you care about any of these resolutions or any of these votes that's coming up, you need to go to mini assemblies because that is the way that you can actually make amendments to some of these. It is typically not allowable on the floor of the plenary to bring substantive changes and amendments to the floor. Please go to the mini assemblies to do that.